So, here we are again. It seems like the issue is resolved. We can't guarantee that it will last for the day, unfortunately, but we can try our best. And we are here for the race start. The field is led by Maximilian Dehn alongside Julian Checot, one of the BMW enforcers, and we actually can see very well from this angle. Lots of Porsches, lots of BMWs.
They do seem to be the favourites at the minute.
And it's 2 for 2 in the front rows. And the cars behind also Ron Den Hurt, Alizai, Enrico Bräuninger, Roberto Garcia, Timothy Fritsch. So we are set up for a very interesting race as we now go green here in Hockenheim. It's a good start from Maximilian, very good start from Alizai, the Dazzle liveried Porsche there we see with the number 4. Maximilian Dehn leading them down through turn 1. I think it's one of the BMWs spun around in the background, but apart from that, oh, big damage to... I think that's Alizai here, who's picked up a lot of damage.
He does always seem to be the unfortunate one in these situations, doesn't he, Alizai here?
Yeah, I mean, he has been collected by... Not quite sure who it was last time. Also a golden liveried Porsche in turn 1. Might have been Kimi Hapler, but now Roberto Garcia looking down the inside of Timothy Fritsch. On the outside might be Bruno Weberis. No, that's the BMW in behind, the diamond liveried one. And Roberto Garcia picking up 2 spots in 1 turn. And
always
up into
a nice
P3.
move.
Very much so indeed. Looking a bit further down. Smaller gaps starting to build. And up front, Maximilian Dehn, Ron Den Hurt. This is what we've been looking forward to. Those two, let's say, they've been doing a lot of talking in the Discord, but now they will let the cars do the talking. And it was actually Enrico Bräuninger.
Unfortunately, we had a long-awaited return sign-up from Mohan Bernardo, but he's down as DNS right now, so I don't know what happened there.
I presume it has to do something with technical issues. Oh, and Bruno Weberis, he's going into the pits. Does he have a drive-through? Just looks like it. And we also see another car in the background into the pits.
He does have a drive-through, yes. We've got a few cars coming in, some coming in for repairs, I believe. But Bruno Weberis does have a drive-through penalty.
Alizai down 15. Julian Checot as well. I think that was the golden EWC BMW we've seen in the pits. Our lone Audi, I think he started further down the order. He's up into 8th. Currently fighting with Piotr Zadaibel, who's now on the outside through Parabolica. And there's a bit of a gaping hole in that front of the Audi.
Some advanced aero techniques.
So Zadaibel takes that spot. Oh, but Boban is coming back. And there is a bit of rubbing. Some might say rubbing is racing. In the touring car, definitely. In the GT3, to a certain extent. Oh, now they go 3 wide. I think that was now Bruno Weberis sneaking through. Taking 9th after his... yeah, how would you say? Drive-through. Now loses it going for the next move. Up front, the gap has grown to 1.8 seconds. I think we will need a bit more time this time around to let the race settle in. SP Fox.
It's a little bit chaotic at the beginning, as you'd expect with this many people on track.
Oh, is Bruno Weberis picked up another drive-through penalty because he's coming in again? Or is he doing his stop prematurely? I think this one will be the definition of this will be a long race.
Bruno Verberis is doing his stop, yes. He's refueling and doing a few repairs.
Okay, so going for a different strategy. That is indeed very interesting.
Maybe looking to get out of a bit of the traffic and see if we can get a bit of clean air.
It's a good fight here for P5 as well, as P-Fox defending from Munuera and Zaremba. Oh, dive bomb from Munuera. As P-Fox left the gap quite wide open there.
We've got a good car train there in the kind of middle of the pack with P5, 6, and 7 together.
Yeah, just as we said that, as P-Fox lost the rear.
And again.
Oh, and Bruno Verberis came out right behind Maximilian Dehn. That's actually not too bad for him, seeing as, well, he can just hang on, in doubt.
Yeah, if you can keep up with Maximilian Dehn for a while, definitely not do things like that to the race leader. That would be very helpful.
It's definitely not helpful for Rondon Hood, because he's now stuck behind that BMW. Of course, he has blue flags, but we've talked about it many times. No matter how good you obey blue flags, they will always cost some time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's inevitable you'll lose a little bit of time. Hopefully with those drivers know each other pretty well, so it seems to be minimal lost time there.
Oh, excited side-by-side content with another BMW. Might
Getting
be a lap
a little
down,
too
actually.
excited.
Good one. Oh, and Zaremba collecting Munuera, who was spinning round and is actually still spinning. I think he just lost control over the curb.
Yeah, the back end weight of these Porsches, when the curves are a bit slippery, it's easy to become a bit of a spinning top at times.
Yeah, of course, it's an interesting combination here in this race with the Porsches and the BMWs, two fundamentally different cars. One more aggressive than the other. Timothy Fridge closing in on Enrico Bräuniger for that final podium spot. We're only 7 minutes in. Meanwhile, Alizai has made his way back up into 11th, but is close to being lapped by Maximilian Dehn.
Ali Zahir, Julian Shakur, and Bruno Verbier have all pitted and taken on fuel. So they seem to have chosen to go to the back of the race to try and get a bit of clean air and maybe see if they can get out of the kind of mid-pack carnage that's going on.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see them cycling up the order. Bit of a move there for Munuera and Excited. And that might actually be Sanchez. It's not that easy to tell apart, I can assure you that.
No, we've got a good mix of liveries going on today, but could do with more. Need more liveries to be able to tell people apart.
Indeed. One thing that is, of course, now also important for this race, I mean, we have 22 sign-ups. The point system is different. And this points, whoever wins it, which of course currently looks like it's Maximilian Dehn, but the race is very long. this points format is heavily dependent on the amount of drivers. Excited gets a little visit from Piotr Zadajew. Because the amount of points you get is actually based on a fixed points format from 1 to 6th. But on the other hand, based on the amount of drivers, and the more drivers you beat, basically, the more points you will get. So currently, Maximilian Dehn is on a way to about 30 points. And if you've seen the RNL standings, where you get about 20 per race, that is a big difference.
Yeah, the participation is kind of taken into account with the point system now. So the more participation we get, the more points you can score. So it's kind of in the driver's interest to get more people driving. So as long as you can beat them, so that you can score more points.
And for RCL, what we don't actually have in RNL is a qualifying bonus. For the top 3 in qualifying,
Yes.
which of course was Maximilian Dehn, Rohan Den Hoed, and Julien Checot. Actually, Julien Checot in front of Rohan Den Hoed, but those 3, they will get 3, 2, and 1 points respectively.
I'm always a fan of qualifying bonuses, so that's great from my point of view. I like a qualifying bonus. Maybe a cheeky fastest lap bonus. That might come in another season.
That might come, indeed. Because it's you will race differently. And bit of a weird block there from Excited against Piotr Zadajew. Usually only move once.
Yeah, he's getting a bit aggressive on the blocking there.
Zadajew with a late break. Can he get it turned? Not quite. But exiting side by side. And Excited backs out of it. Good move there by Piotr Zadajew. But maybe apart from that Parabolica part, solid defense from Excited as well. Julien Checot up into 9th in front of Alizaya. One and heard before this race in Discord was chatting a lot about doing 37s, and we've seen that last week actually. Right now the pace more into the 38s low, but Maximilian Dehn's pace as well up in the high 37s, even though we know he can do 36s.
Yeah, it's obviously race conditions now instead of perfect time trial conditions, but he's lapping comfortably with it himself, I'd say. He's obviously got traffic to deal with now and a 30 minutes left of a race, so he's got to look after his tyres a little bit more. But he's got a bit of pace in him if he needs it, which it's always good to have a little bit in reserve just in case. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, once the pit stops come around, this will shake up a lot of the order, of course.
Yeah, we'll be able to find out whether the early pitters have made the right call.
So, of course, also now interesting. Julien Checot, that's the golden liveried EWC BMW. A lap down on Maximilian Dehn, but I mean, pretty much the same pace.
Yeah, he seems to be staying with Max Dehn pretty well right now. I think our friend Excited got a bit confused there and let him through. Didn't fight for that, or just chose not to fight for the position.
Unless something big happens to the cars, of course, you can expect a pit stop to cost you, if you only do refueling, about 30 seconds. So it wouldn't quite cycle the likes of Shikozai and Viberius up to the front. But on the other hand, as we see further down... Oh, Rondon Hood. I think he was in contact with Excited.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Was I? So they won't quite cycle to the front, but they will cycle past a lot of cars which are basically in their way to the top positions. And Hood now getting past. Can't front of him, that should be Alizaya, indeed it is. We are only 1/3 of the way through, so there's still a lot to come in this race. I'm pretty sure of that. Noah Sanchez in the pits. I think that is also a name I recognize. Running Hood seems to be a bit faster than Alizaya as well. Of course, not quite ideal for Ali in this situation, but...
Noah Sanchez had a drive-through to serve, so I wonder if that was why he went in the pits.
He definitely came in first to repair, so probably will do... or will serve his penalty next lap round. Running Hood gets past Alizaya. Few battle scars on some of the cars. So you see the diver goes with that contact with his BMW colleague on the right hand side in the front. Running Hood having some damage to the left door. But apart from that, car seems to be fine. As Maximilian Dehn now pulls into the pits. Race leader coming in. Will be a quick pit stop, I reckon. Fuel goes in. And there he
just
goes.
Fuel for Max Dean. And I think that was Rowan de Hood just coming into the pits just after him.
Indeed, because Timothy Fritsch is staying out. And Enrico Bräuninger has taken the lead because of it for now. Enrico last week stayed out very long. Very shortly and had a very long second stint. I think that kind of lost him a few positions. He was stuck behind one of the Porsches. But couldn't quite undercut, and now he's going for the opposite. And I like that, to be honest.
He's not got a lot of fuel on board, so he's probably going to be coming in probably this lap. But we'll see.
Shikozai and Viberius running 6th, 8th, and 9th respectively already, between just the BMW of Piotr Zadaibe. I'm not sure if he has pitted yet. I do think so, but I'm not sure if he refueled.
I'll check for you. Piotr Zadybal is just coming in to refuel now, I believe.
Okay, so that answers the question. So is Enrico Bräuninger. .60 at the line. Timothy Fritsch is also coming in.
Piotr Zadybal is changing tyres, so he's going to be in for a bit of a longer pit stop. Enrico Bräuninger just adding fuel. Quick stop for him.
Maximilian Dehn retaking the lead here.
Rowan de Hood regaining second place.
Has Kasper Zarimba pitted yet? He's currently running 5th, and we've seen him in the fights previously, but no, he hasn't. Because I was wondering,
no,
he's been pretty under the radar since the fight he had.
he's the only one in the top 10 who hasn't pitted.
But he made his fuel last, definitely. He's not at the fuel level that Enrico Bräuninger was at when he came in.
Yeah, he seems to have done pretty well on fuel load. And his car looks in pretty decent condition. It doesn't seem to have any damage, so it seems to have kept it clean.
Yeah, it's some to the front left as far as I can see. That was, of course, with the collision he had, or not collision, but where he got collected by Munuera, who actually is also still in this race, running 12th. And just as a reminder, 12th in this race would still give you 7 or 8 points. Actually, not too sure quite now. So that is very valuable to just finish in that position.
Our number 20 car, Excited, he's refueled, but he has got a couple of drive-through penalties to serve, so he's going to be popping in and out of the pits for the next couple of laps.
Yeah, for him, pretty much the same case. He, of course, will lose that position to Cesco Munuera, but he will still, if he finishes this race, collect a good amount of points.
Yeah.
Right now,
Kasper Zaremba is in the pits right now, but he is changing tyres, so that's going to cost him a few extra places.
I don't actually know if it will cost him that bad. Because, of course, there was quite the gap between the cars. Just having a look, he might come out behind Bruno Viberis, which is now 8th.
Yeah.
Sable's pit speed now. Bruno Viberis through turn 1. Oh, this will be an interesting one. Because Bruno Viberis now with more speed.
I think he's managed to hold on to it.
Bruno Viberis is quick though, so...
That is true.
But of course, Zaremba now has the advantage of new tires. And I'm sure he will use that to his advantage. The great thing about, of course, in RENNSPORT in this case, compared to many real-life series nowadays, you do have tire blankets. so you don't get out on track with absolutely stone cold tires.
That is true. I think our friend Excited might have made a bit of an oops because he has 2 drive-through penalties to serve and only 1 lap to serve them.
We shall see in 1 lap time then. With the pit stop cycle and all of that, Timothy Fritsch is actually now a bit behind Enrico Bräuninger. I mean, think back a few minutes, they were super close to each other. Now it's 7 seconds separating the two.
Yeah, and Excited got disqualified for not serving his penalties.
Another driver that seems to not be able to finish this race is Alizai, because we've just seen stationary Porsche on the track, a ghost car. And Alizai indeed is DNF from this race.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened there. Casper Zembera, I was just going to say he was doing a good job staying ahead of Bruno Viberes, and then he spins.
Oh, and I must say, yeah, it's very easy to do it then, the Porsche. Really throw the car into it and then it just goes.
Yeah. I entirely apologise, Casper. I will take full responsibility for that one.
As if you didn't know. But he's running 7th with a good gap to Noah Sanchez. 20 seconds, 22 seconds. Piotr Zadaiba, another 25.
He's lost a few seconds to Bruno Viberes, but there's still 18 minutes of the race left, so he can maybe catch up and see how he gets on once he's cooled his tyres down a little bit after taking a few donuts.
Maximilian Dehn in the Summit 2023 livery. He, of course, was there, which he told me just recently. I'm not sure if you were on the call as well with us there or not. Do you not? But, well, he was at the Summit back then, which I thought was a great time, to be honest. And he actually noticed me because I had blue hair at the time and you can hardly miss it. But it was actually quite funny because he then told me that he grinded on the rigs there to set the best lap time. We had, I think, 8 public rigs which you could test. And a scoreboard for each day, of course. And I noticed a few people just grinding the heck out of them. And Maximilian Dehn apparently was one of them.
Well, all his practice at Hockenheim seems to be paying off because he is absolutely romping away at the front here. Nothing but clean air behind him. He's currently lapping a second faster than anyone else.
Yeah, we still have 15 minutes to go. Of course, lots of stuff that can happen, but he really doesn't have to risk anything anymore. The gap he has. Run and Hood on the other side, 6 seconds to Enrico Bräuninger. Now it's Bruno Viberes in front of him.
Yeah, Ron de Hood had a bit of a bad lap last lap. Well, the lap before last lap. And lost a little bit of time to Enrico Bräuninger, but he's gained it back this lap, so he's keeping the gap around about 5.5 seconds. Whereas Enrico Bräuninger's got Timothy Frisch just a few seconds behind him, so he can't relax too much.
Yeah, traffic will come into play a lot in this race, definitely.
Yes, for sure. Got quite a few less cars on track than we had at the beginning, so it won't be too bad, I don't think. Most of the guys still on track. They can definitely trust to behave well in traffic, and it shouldn't be too bad picking your way past the back markers for the front runners now.
Just seen Timothy Frisch switch the lights on his Porsche. I mean, I can tell you it won't get dark here today. We started at 8 AM in-game time, and we will end about, if I'm not mistaken now, at 11 AM.
It's currently 10 AM in game, so yeah.
Checks out. Where it will get dark, however, I don't know how I came now onto this transition, but of course next week, apart from the RENNSPORT Nordschleife League going into the third round, 90 minutes GT3s, we will also see another RCE, or a different RCE, new RCE, however you want to call it.
An RCE.
An RCE. And this time, again with a special car, but I'd say instead of just talking about it and explaining it, why don't you have a look and see for yourself what awaits you? There you have it, Mission R at Jeddah and 2 races. I know that our Mission R fanboy number 1, Adrian Looney, isn't the biggest fan of that format, but it's for me the best one that suits the car. And we will have 2 races, one in daytime, one at nighttime. Of course, there's no night at Jeddah in that sense. So you won't run out of light, but it is a very cool looking track at night with all the lights and stuff. And also with the big Ferris wheel. Of course, I have to prefer the Nürburgring Ferris wheel. Purely
we're
because
not ranking Ferris wheels now, are we?
Why not? I mean, you have a good selection of. I mean, that might be something we should do either on Friday or rather on Saturday, because on Friday I won't be here, unfortunately. But on Saturday, because well, if you think about it, there are a lot of cool Ferris wheels around racing tracks for some reason. I mean, you have the Nürburgring Ravenol one, you have the Jeddah one, the Suzuka one. I mean, how can you forget the Suzuka one?
The Daytona one?
The Daytona one. Yeah, lots of good choices. And I mean, most of them are illuminated as well.
Yeah. They probably give you an amazing view from the top of the racetrack in the long endurance events where you've got time to kind of like really soak it in. Not so much at the Nürburgring one.
Well, I think you still get a decent overview, but I wouldn't go on it. Not because I think it's unsafe or something. I have no idea, no problems with roller coasters or anything, but Ferris wheels, no. That's not for me.
Okay.
For some reason. It's not even that I'm scared of it, but it's just like, I feel uncomfortable, you know? It's that weird sense of feeling confined, even though you're not really.
Do they put a Ferris wheel up for the Spa 24?
That's a good
I'm not
question.
sure they do.
I don't think they do, yeah. But on Spa you see less on an Nordschleife, in all fairness.
Yeah.
So. But I mean, they have like the grandstands, which are epic nowadays. Coming up Rouge,
Yeah,
you see a lot from there.
yeah. I bet you can see a lot of the back straight from the Eau Rouge grandstand.
But you also pay for it fairly well, I guess.
I'd be very surprised if there isn't one at Le Mans. Surely they
There
must put a
sure
Ferris
is,
wheel
yeah.
up.
Even though on the Mo, you probably also don't see that much, seeing as how big the track is in terms of just size it covers. I mean,
At least there's no hills to get in the way like there are at Spa.
just trees.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it didn't get in the way of certain cars. Not looking at anything in particular.
Maximilian Dean just setting his fastest lap of the race. Well, the fastest lap of the race, but also his fastest lap. Doing a 37.1. Creeping ever closer to those 36s, which we know he can do. Rowan Dehode trying his best to take some time out of Maximilian Dean, but he's still lapping substantially faster than Enrico Breuninger, so he's doing his job.
Yeah, as long as he this time can keep the podium position. I mean, I'm sure he won't get into troubles on fuel this time around. Not only do I think that he learned from last time, but on the other hand, this race is shorter, so you shouldn't have any issues with that. Just doing a regular pit stop. But that, of course, was, I think, quite the big loss for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he had mentioned on the Discord channel for the RCL that he'd been doing a bit of fuel maths to make sure he had the right amount for this race, working on his strategy a little bit more.
And so far, he's running good. It's 8 minutes left to go. Cars are
Yeah, they all seem
scattered.
to be pretty good on fuel. Except perhaps Noah Sanchez, who is quite low. Maybe only got a couple extra laps and is making his Porsche go very sideways.
I've seen it on your screen, unfortunately missed it on mine. Looks like he's struggling a bit with the rear tires.
He's still got 30 seconds before Piotr's arrival, but if he does have to pit, then that gap will get pretty eaten into.
Yeah, Princess Double didn't really have the most luck this race. I mean, we've seen so many good races from him. This time, just not lucky enough. But, I mean, he's
No,
still
not
driving.
quite.
He's still doing his mileage.
Timothy Frisch just dipping into the 38s there with a 38.5, eating into the gap between him and Enrico Breuninger, but with 6 minutes left to go, he's going to have to keep pushing. Keep pushing, Timothy.
Oh, and Enrico Breuninger has put it into the wall, just as you said that. So the commentator's curse strikes again, but Enrico Breuninger with a big frontal hit, exiting turn 1. There isn't much
As I was
left.
watching a car, I saw an EWC livery B4 go exit stage right, and I didn't twig that was Enrico Breuninger.
I was just wondering, because I've seen the delta on Timothy Fritsch just dropping like a rock. And now Enrico Breuninger, he has a long way back to the pits. 55-ish seconds to Julian Chicot.
if you can keep it on track, it might not be. It might be worth just staying out right now.
Yeah,
Just nursing it round to the end of the race.
it really depends on the amount of damage driving-wise. Now Sanchez into the pits, meanwhile. Seems like the car's
Yeah,
still drivable, so mostly aero damage.
Noah Sanchez getting impatient there and revving his engine as it was still up on the stands. But coming out 15 seconds or so behind Noah Sanchez. Sorry, behind Piotr Zdybal. So he's down into 9th place.
I wonder what input device he's playing at.
Noah Sanchez.
Seems a bit like... It doesn't seem like controller. It seems like keyboard.
It does see, yeah, it seems even more kind of digital than a controller setup, doesn't it?
And I'm impressed at how smooth he's driving for that. I've seen in the realm of sim racing, and I know that other sim racers don't have as much support for it as we as RENNSPORT have. But I've seen people driving in keyboard. I personally come from a race room background, and we've seen people with keyboard driving. But driving this smooth with the keyboard, that really requires a lot. And heads off for that.
Yeah, I've come more from the kind of ACC side of things, where you'd see the occasional controller driver, but I don't think I've ever seen a keyboard driver on ACC.
I don't think it's possible. It's actually kind of funny with now the top 3 being Porsches and the next 3 cars being BMWs. It doesn't really come down to the pace of the cars this time around, more the luck of the drivers. But in general, we've seen a very interesting start to the race.
It is all Porsches and BMWs right now. It's all 992s or M4s. It's become a bit of a clash of the titans.
I mean, these two do have a lot of history between them. If you put in a Mercedes in between of them, I think this is one of the most historic things you can have in the realm of sim racing. Of course, Audi is a big part of that. But Audi came in way later, and I think that's actually a super cool story around those different brands, because BMW came in later than Mercedes and Porsche, but still has a long heritage. And then in the late 90s, or in some of the 90s, Audi just pops up and wipes the field for a time and build up a reputation that the other brands built up for, I don't know, 50, 60 years. They just came in. And this makes me even more sad that they decided to leave that all behind, because they had the coolest story, I'd say. I mean, every other brand, Porsche is... I mean, if you think of motorsport, you think of Porsche. There's no... You can't escape the Porsche 911, wherever you look.
Yeah.
If you think about touring cars, you always picture BMW, because BMW is synonymous with touring cars and GT cars. Going back to the, I think, 70s with the CSL and stuff. And Mercedes is, of course, like always, if you think about technology or the most advanced technologies racing series, you had the Group C Sauber, you had the CLR, okay, that didn't quite end on its wheels, but it still was vinegar. You have the Formula 1 years in recent time. And Audi just came in at some point joined them and was there just to leave. I mean, they have, I think, 7 Nordschleife wins since 2012.
Yeah.
That is quite
Yeah,
insane.
Maximilian Dean on his last lap now. As he works his way down towards the hairpin.
Quick fun fact, most manufacturers wins on the Nordschleife, BMW with 20. And then Porsche, I think it's 13. And they, of course, with Manthey Racing, had their own streaks of domination. But streaks of domination, we had this in RENNSPORT as well. Fortunately, the driver who was ahead of that couldn't quite join today, but Maximilian Dehn takes his place here at the Hockenheim ring to the Motodrome for the final time, and he wins, is going to win. There's still 1 corner left to go, but in this case, I don't think the commentator's curse is strong enough. He will win Hockenheim for 2 weeks in a row, and he will open up Season 5 with a win. Congratulations. Julien Chicot will be second across the line, but 5th in position. One Hurt, it didn't quite work out last week, but this time it does. Podium position for the Dutchman, who isn't Remco.
There are other Dutchmen. Shocking.
And Timothy Fridge, after winning the last race in the RENNSPORT Community League, is going to end up on the podium once more. Bruno Rebellis came home in 6th. Piotr Zadaiba in 8th. Munuera in 10th. Enrico Brania drifting without a front end, but works for him as we have the last few finishers. Coming home in 4th. Zaremba and Sanchez also finishing the races. So yeah, that was today's race. Was a challenge to broadcast in a way, but on
A
the
strange one, on and off track, you might say.
Yeah, very much so. But things would be boring if everything was just straightforward.
I don't know, I could deal with straightforward sometimes.
Sometimes it really would help. However, we hope you enjoyed today. This was the one calendar, even though we will take a look at it in just a moment. Next time in 2 weeks, on the 7th of March, we will go to the Nürburgring GP for our second race. We haven't had this in RCL for a while, I think.
No. We can have the chicane debate again.
Oh yeah, and this will be interesting, because I actually like the chicane. Man, what should I do? I grew up with DTM. However, next week, us, RNL, we've got too many leagues with R at the start, which is kind of obvious if you think about that the R stands for RENNSPORT. But the RENNSPORT Nordschleife League on Friday, 8 p.m. and the RENNSPORT Community Event on Saturday, 8 p.m. More infos on that will follow on Monday. Not 8 p.m., but earlier.
You should have made it 8 p.m. just for consistency.
Who needs consistency? That only wins your championships. Do you have any final words about today?
Just thank you for everyone on Twitch for hanging with us while we had the technical problems. I'm sorry about that. We'll try and keep it to a minimum, obviously. Yeah, great racing. All
right, then I'd say enjoy your evenings And until next time, have a great time and goodbye.
Goodbye.